Dear friends, welcome once again to the ongoing twin venture between the Van Leer Institute in Jerusalem and the Program of Hellenic Studies at the University of Haifa. We reached today in Jerusalem our fifth lecture in the series Greece in the Eye of the Cyclone, whose goal is to explore, thanks to the expertise of scholars in the field, the political, social roots and the effects of the present crisis on the Greek society, as well as in the whole European Union. For this investigation today, I am happy to present a longtime friend of the Program of Hellenic Studies, Professor Areti Demosthenous, who comes to us as a neighbor from Cyprus. Areti has traveled the whole globe to give lectures invited by so many universities that I would not able to tell about all of them. Athens, Bogazici University in Istanbul, Munich, Erfurt, New York, Shandong University in China, Nehru Institute of Advanced Studies in New Delhi. I'll quote a few of her numerous publications just for you to get an idea, a global idea of her work and line of interest. For example, in French, but I'll translate into English, Religion and Politics in the Educational System in Cyprus, published in Paris in 2011. From Coexistence to Division, How Cyprus Became a Society Culturally Divided, in Études Balkaniques, also in French, in 2010. From Multiculturalism to Interculturalism, Islamic and Christian Guidelines, published in Greek in 2010. And that is only just to give you an idea of the line of research of Areti. I'm sorry, I'm afraid my voice will go away, so I'll be very short. What I want to say about Areti, and you will feel it in her lecture, is that she's a combative-like personality. She's a founding member of the Forum, the World Forum of Religions and Cultures in Nicosia and Athens. She has directed several competitive international projects, and in 2006 she was awarded the first prize for professionalism granted by the Business Professional Women Association in Cyprus. She is above all, and that you will feel it very soon, a teacher and a pedagogue. We spoke about that coming here, and the word pedagogue is what characterizes her mostly. She teaches comparative religious family law with focus on Islamic law and sociology of religion as intercultural studies with regard to religious difference. And this evening, in this perspective, she will make a global lecture about resistance of small nations to the cyclone, since we speak of Greece in the eye of the cyclone, regional and international perspectives. So, Areti, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Professor Horowitz, for this kind introduction. I would like to thank Dr. Litmanovich and the Van Leer Institute and Onassis Foundation, of course, for this series of lectures. We share one thing in common and one thing not in common, Jewish and Greek people. The one thing in common is that we have had a brilliant past. Jewish people and Greek people, we were very privileged to have a rich history in the past. Recent years, Jewish people continue this brilliant past with the development in the education. The Greek nation faces financial problems and also migration and emigration. We hope that one day these problems will be settled. This kind of lectures could be of help because via education and information, consultancy and advices from other countries, these problems maybe could be faced on a different way, and it would be profitable for Greece and Europe as well. Let me start with a joke from Aesopus. Once there was a crab and a snake. The crab was the best man at the snake's wedding. In Greek, the two became goodbye. After the snake was divorced, they agreed to share the same house in a hole near the river and go hunting together and live together as good goodbye. The winter came, and one night the snake, being cold, wrapped himself around the crab. The crab told him, "What are you doing, my friend? Do you plan to choke me?" The snake said, "Of course not. It's cold and I am trying to get warm." The crab said, "Okay," and went back to sleep. In a short while, the snake hugged the crab tightly again. The crab said, "Ah, kumbare, you want to kill me?" "Absolutely not," replied the snake. The crab, being fearful for his life, decided to pretend to fall asleep again. After 2 hours, the snake attempted to actually choke the crab. The crab then bit off the snake's neck completely. The snake bled to death. The crab then put together the dead parts of the snake, like that, and then said sadly, "If you were as quiet as you are now, when you were alive, you would not be in this condition now, dead, and me alone, without a kumbaro." Of course, this anecdote from Aesopus shows that the image of the other, the snake cat, led to its own death, because the snake didn't think that the crab would kill him. So the image of the other we have. It's a book published in New York by New York Press.
So the snake didn't intend to choke the crab? Did he intend to choke him or not?
The snake wanted to kill the crab.
Yes.
But the snake was not clever enough to understand that the crab was stronger. And so, at the end, the snake is dead.
Please.
Right. So I don't understand the image.
Excuse me, but we have to go on with the lecture. Then we won't.
Yeah.
No, maybe a clarification, because they type the lecture. They want me to continue until the end, and then you can ask questions. This is the reason. So the crab and the snake were friends, but the snake wanted to eat up the crab. But the crab was stronger, pretended to sleep, and then when the snake attacked him directly, he cut his neck. So it shows that when we live with different people, or even among us, we have to know what the others believe about us and what we believe about them. Otherwise, it will be clash of interests, and maybe we will be damaged. So education can help in order to give us correct information and evaluate correct the balances. All is about balances. This book by Richard Mason, it's very, very important for for educators. Understanding is the process of understanding and evaluate the culture around us and the political situation. It's good to use. People do not know what to do. They are jobless, poor, brainwashed. Small nations do not know how to survive in the world competition. They feel they do not have Sitz im Leben, place in the world. Globalization is a thunderstorm. People did not decide for that. They can only get protected by getting together in associations, coalitions, by sharing common laws, by introducing a just economic system everywhere, etc. Greek olive, this is Greek olive, but also Israeli olive, Israeli olive oil, Greek olive oil, is being globalized. Globalized means παγκοσμιοποιημένο. It can be sold, or it is already being sold all over the world, where market demand allows it. It is a commodity which brings money under well-prescribed commercial circumstances. On the other hand, and in a philosophical manner, virtues like peace, love, respect, and honor are not globalized. They are global. They don't need to be sold in order to be global. They are already global. Παγκοσμιοποιώ means to global make. Literally, it is something which, though not global, it has been made to be global. For instance, my speech now is not global, but through the internet broadcasting becomes globalized. Not global, globalized. The value of life, that I am alive, is a global value. You cannot pay for that. It's even universal, but universal virtuous. Not virtuous.
Okay.
Yes, not only universal, because universal are also material things which don't have very important roles in life and in humanity. Nation, ethnos, is a group of people sharing common characteristics regarding their ethnic group, language, religion, historical heritage, cultural background, and geographical ancestry. There are children of the earth, παιδιά της γης, who live in their own home country, patρίδα, not just to extol the earth which is their mother, because like a woman demonstrates her motherhood by breastfeeding her pups. In the same way, our geographical mother gives evidence of being mother of our men by producing corn and barley for our food. This is from Plato, Xenus 237d. Food and other necessary goods was always the duty of the Mother Earth, today the nation state. To those belonging to same nation, the connecting element is their consciousness of belonging to the same ethnic group and historical orientation. Narrower ideological groupings are family clans, φατριασμός, or sectionalism, τοπικισμός, as well as those with broader borders, like emperorship or ecumenism. Stephen Crosby sees the archetype of the establishment of nations in antiquity in Genesis 11:1-9, when the separation of mankind to different ethnic took place due to people's arrogance and wish to reach God by themselves. The Tower of Babel. Nationalism is a word derived from ethnos, nation, high admiration for one's nation, it means. The term ethnos alone did not exist in ancient Greece. Athenai and all others who did not share the Greek education and culture were called barbari. The discussion is amazingly similar to the current discussion of the treatment of illegal immigrants, even thousands of years later. Plato, Politia, the Republic, Epsilon 470, C 1-7. In ancient Greece, there was the term philopolis. Philopolis meaning adherence and love to one's own town. Plato, Politia. In divided Cyprus, for instance, positive and negative meaning it's given to the word nationalism. It's positive and negative meaning. The positive is love to our home country. The negative is superiority of our own nation over the others. So if Jewish people love their own nation, it's a positive. If Jewish people say and they do exclusive politics, all others are not good like us, and this is not proved academically or in praxis, because maybe it is proved that they are better. If they are not good and they believe that they are good, then it's the negative. Nationality can be defined as the relationship between a person and his or her state of origin. It also means that a person has the protection of the state where he or she was born. Ethnicity can be defined as a group of people who regard themselves to be different from others. The ethnic groups are united by common traditional, cultural, linguistic, ritualistic, behavioral, and religious traits. Nationality can be termed as a legal concept. Ethnicity can be termed as a cultural concept. Small nations now on their way to a union. The cultural, homogeneous groups became politically recognized as independent states in the 19th century. However, with the Treaty of Paris, 1951, the European Coal and Steel Community was established, thus opening the door to the creation of the European Financial Community and the European Union of today. It was after the Second World War. Germany and France were in danger to get angry at each other again and have a war. They couldn't have a war because already the damages from the Second World War were very huge, so they established this European Coal and Steel Community in order to trade steel and coal without being in danger to have a conflict and war again. A nation state is an ethnos enjoying political legitimacy as a sovereign nation and political, geopolitical, cultural, and ethnic entity. Multinational states are formed by many ethnic. Empires may include people from different nations or ethnicities. A federation is a political entity characterized by a union of partially self-governing states or regions under a central federal government. All these are important because we try to understand where is the place of a nation state inside all these unions, all these alliances. So it's important to know the terminological differences of unions, alliances, nations, and nation states. The cyclone, in Greek kyklonas, makes people regard as a gateway only they move to other countries. However, a nation state has political legitimacy as a sovereign nation. But when it has legitimacy, when it has citizens, sovereign territory, and sovereign law. So if a nation state doesn't have citizens, where is the legitimacy? These three elements are required. Here are refugees in the Aegean coming from Turkey to Greece. Problems to small nations created by globalization. A global society promotes negative and positive elements to small nations. Interconnectedness among people in economic, political, cultural, communicational area, defense and educational sphere around the world. This implies freedom of interaction, dissemination of ideas and habits, communication by means of social media, free trade agreements, migration possibilities, preference for cheap labor, technological services, etc., etc. The free market, the no-borders migration policy, and the emerging hegemony of the G7 leading industrial countries questions the national state as protector of its own interests. The education for global citizenship creates a problem to the educational institutions. They feel under pressure to respond to globalization forces by preparing students to engage competitively and successfully with this new realm, lest their nations be left in the dust. In practice, it is a challenging task during the daily class schedule to promote students' national values and at the same time to prepare them for their role as world citizens, enjoying international values such as peaceful coexistence and respect for all. Now to the influences to traditional family as the core of the nation. Replacement of the traditional marriage contract with that of the registered cohabitation, the so-called civil union, which has become a matter of fashion in Western countries. Another influence is that the divorce becomes easier. One more, many intermarriages. One more, respect to the parents is replaced by other values. For instance, respect to Facebook, friends, etc. Recently, a mother told me, my son gets angry at me when I speak to him, but when he gets a new Facebook like, he smiles like in paradise. How can you explain this? A global society makes family more fragile than before. It has brought on a series of problems to the traditional functioning family policy. The geography of family life has been destabilized by two powerful forces: the striking progress toward equality between men and women, and the equally striking growth of socioeconomic inequality and insecurity. Now to the political ideologies threatening small nations. We have Marxism, communism, socialism, fascism. We have oligarchy, in Greek oligarchia. We have, of course, Aristotle. Aristotle pioneered the use of the term as a synonym for rule by the rich, for which another term commonly used today is plutocracy. So Aristotle used the oligarchy and the plutocracy in order to show the difference. By oligarchy, we mean it was meant on that time to rule or to command, but by few people. Nowadays, plutocracy, it's going to be the same, because also the rich people are few. So plutocracy in the 21st century became a synonym to oligarchy, although on the time of Aristotle it was different. Capitalism and its free market system may offer freedom in some aspects of life, even though for decades it proved to be a system where banks authoritatively govern nations and states. We call it in Greek Αυτοκρατορία των τραπεζών, empire of the banks. This empire of the banks nowadays is a plutocracy because the banks are rich, but it is at the same time oligarchy because they are few. It's few banks which rule the whole bank system of the world. The recent Eurozone crisis threatens small nations. The financial situation of many South European and non-European states depict a clear inadequacy of political structures and their supportive models. Not only inadequacy of political structures, but also inadequacy of the economic system, because it's something missing. If it was not something missing, there wouldn't be financial crisis nearly all over the world. Here is the debt as a percentage of GDP in Europe. You see with red, are countries which have very big debt, with orange color less debt, and with grey-green countries with less debt. So Italy, Greece, Portugal, Ireland are more in danger than the rest. But also both France and Britain exceed the European Commission debt limits. So it's, and this is only for Europe, but we could speak also all over the world. It's something missing and happening which threatens the stability. Youth unemployment is still huge in Europe. You see here in Spain it's 49%, Greece is also 49%, in Italy is 42%, in Cyprus is 34%, but youth is our future. If young people are unemployed, then they get depression and frustration, then who is going to give birth to young children? Who is going to have a family? Who is going to be our biological continuation? Belgium, 20%. Many Muslims in Belgium are jobless. We see the terrorist attacks, etc. Czech Republic 14, Estonia 11, Netherlands 10, Germany 7.2. Even in Germany, there are young people who are unemployed. Now to the short chapter of my presentation on economic challenges facing ethnos in a global society. A sound economy protects and preserves national independence. It guarantees a stable political system which keeps democracy and justice at its highest point. When a nation state faces financial problems, it often seeks to become part of bigger political or economic constructs, be these political or economic entities, which can help this state to survive. These bigger formations, for example, European Union, USA, the former Soviet Union, and Dalia, introduced their migration policy to member states and prescribe labor and administration rules. People now, as citizens of small ethnic, do not have a chance to choose for themselves the political model under which they wish to live. So if people don't have the chance to choose, it means lack of freedom and democracy. Of course, according to the United Nations, people are allowed to move from the country they are not happy or they cannot live. But the country where they go, it's not obliged to accept them. For this reason, we have also this refugee crisis problem. So they are allowed to leave from their country of origin, but the others are not obliged to accept them. It depends on the states regulations. So here we have a problem. There is the remote possibility that these world alliances may one day collapse due to the existing clash of interests among them and the lack of nation, of ethnos values. These huge alliances and the unions, to go ahead and to exist, they need values, they need virtues, people need education. If these elements are not there, nationalism will come up, right-wing parties, crimes, many things which will threaten the stability, the coexistence, and then it will be bad. It will come to bad consequences for these unions. Now, mass media and art communication. What means art communication? No communication, επικοινωνία. Not communication means communication does not exist. Art communication means the requirements to communication do not exist. For instance, they send SMS. It's not communication, it's exchange of information. Communication is interaction. For instance, multiculturalism means we have many cultures together, living in one country. Interculturalism means these cultures communicate, have interaction. The same is with a communication and not communication. A communication is no interaction. We here, now, actually, we have communication because you are listening to me, but we would have a better communication if you ask me something and I answer. Interactive, interaction. What is regarded as communication today is actually nothing more than a presentation of information. My daughter sends me an SMS, Mom, I am here. This is information, it's not communication. Mass media influence the shaping of ideas and characters. They affect the control of the market, thus functioning as a third power. Mass media broadcast from a region, local level, to the world, global level. They spread information regarding all, the regional and the international. Now, some questions which come up is, do citizens of one ethnos who are naturally exposed to this exchange of information feel citizens of their own state or citizens of a global village, the planet Earth? If it is the latter, then the importance of ethnos is secondary to that of the global village. Yes. characteristics of this app communication, a non-personal relation between the global village and its inhabitants is being developed. It diminishes the bond of the mother country, their ethnos. The emotional intelligence is in danger. Teenagers who are exposed through the media to what is seen as a superior and thus desirable lifestyle, which is out of their reach, may end up suffering from depression, hate, and enmity. Recently, we had a group of Lebanese students who suddenly suffered depression. And it was very strange, because these students were very good students. At the end, do you know what happened? They saw via Facebook and internet some other students of the same faculty, the same age, etc., living luxurious, very luxurious in Boston University in America. They made comparisons. They wanted all to live and go there. They couldn't live, and at the end they started getting unhappy, and they said, we are not happy here, we want to move. So these comparisons are one-sided comparisons, because they saw on the internet. They don't know if these people, the students, their friends in Boston, were really happy. But the pictures which came via internet and Facebook and other social media gave this information. So it's just presentation of information, it's not exchange, and this makes them unhappy. For instance, I see that somebody like me lives better. Okay, for me money is not important. Maybe I see that he is very peaceful, he makes something better than I do, and then suddenly I become unhappy. But I haven't met this person. I saw that only from the social media. So it's not actual information, but it influences characters and actions and health. Moreover, it diminishes students' ability to use historical thinking. History is being given lower priority. The priority is to computer classes, to other lessons. Historical thinking is not important, but historical thinking has to do with the identity. A nation without historical thinking is a fragile construction, so the balances are disturbed. Lack of intercultural protection is something more. What means intercultural protection? To be able to protect our culture from this invasion of the globalization. Many people say our culture is not good. They feel embarrassed, they feel not happy that they belong to marginalized cultures, but there are not marginalized cultures. Do you know any marginalized culture? All cultures are important. The only thing we can give to the others and not become poorer is the culture. So culture is very important, but they see that some other people, some other group of people live better, so they feel not happy, not good. Now, a word to religion and ethnicity. The question of one ecumenical God, ekumenikos theos, and the consequent relation to the ethnos of all adherents of the common faith is represented in each religion in a different way. Judaism wishes a Jewish state where people can share same faith and be protected as such by state law. Jewishness has a common cultural, religious, and national origin for all citizens. The book of Mark in 2002 describes the meaning of the loyalty to be chosen as God's nation in his famous book, Holy War, Holy Peace. Oxford University Press is one of my beloved books. In Christianity, Jesus Christ ordered, "Go therefore and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe all that I have commanded you. And behold, I am with you always to the end of the age." Matthew 28:19-20. In this sense, all nations are invited to the New Jerusalem, but the New Jerusalem is a spiritual teaching, while the ethnos, Agion, the holy nation, is the new group of people baptized in his name. First Epistle Petrus 2:9. However, this ethnos Agion, this holy nation, has nothing to do with political privileges. Matthew 22, chapter 21, verse I quote, "Give therefore to the emperor the things that are the emperor's, and God the things that are God's." This means that the political life is separated from the spiritual. So it's something else, the spiritual nation, and something else, the political power. So there is no place for political theology. It seems here that it is not at all a new nation state proclaimed by Jesus. In Islam, things are somehow different. After the establishment of the new religion, the world in Arabia, as well as in other regions of the soon expanded Muslim state, was divided into the House of Islam and the House of God, the Dar al-Islam and the Dar al-Harb. The Dar al-Islam is all those lands in which a Muslim government rules, and the religious law of Islam prevails, has priority. Dar al-Harb, the House of War, who remains outside the Islamic frontier, and with whom therefore there is in principle a canonically obligatory perpetual state of war until the whole world is either converted or subjugated. Okay, also in the Ottoman Empire, Christians and Jews were tolerated, but they had to pay the jizya tax, the het tax, and to pay the taxes. Jews and Christians were tolerated because they have the al-Kitab, a religion by revelation. In this context, in the above-mentioned context, Dar al-Islam is the nation of all Muslims all over the world, a global caliphate. Modern jihadist is a threat to the nation, but one may not blame all Muslims or Islam for what Islamic State or other jihadists do. Jihadists are a small minority, very small minority. Modern jihadism is regarded to be a social extreme reaction against many current social, political, legal, economic, etc. injustices. It's alienation of faith, it's exclusive politics in religion. What means exclusive politics in a sociological context? Exclusive politics is who is not with us is against us. Who is not with us will not go to heaven. We don't know what will decide who is going to heaven or not. Modern jihadism is a way of achieving political and economic power and creation of a world caliphate. As caliphate, it claims religious, political, and military authority over all Muslims worldwide. Delicate aspects of society like these have to be treated with respect and openness, helping all of us to discover and understand the others and us, and to search the best ways to cooperate, if possible. The neighbor, if the neighbor is a Muslim, is not always an enemy. He might be a friend if we get to know him. If he is not a Muslim and he is something else, and he is an enemy, we can defeat him easier if we get to know him. So we have to be careful. To any of our approaches, we need respect. In Nicosia, in Elysium, there are also Muslim pupils. And every time a terrorist action is published, is broadcasted, they call these two Muslim pupils, okay, you have managed to make something bad. They make fun of them. And now these two pupils don't get good grades. They are unhappy. But these pupils are not terrorists. So we have to be careful. Religion has to be practiced as a personal relation to God, not as a political or communal organization of citizens. This will play an important role to the reduction of religious conflicts instigated by religious fanaticism. Actually, politicians use the emotional intelligence of people and the way people believe, and they spread information, and then people get fanatized, and then religion is far away from its ultimate aim. The ultimate aim of religion is the eschatological salvation of man. When a religion is practiced as a communal or political relation, and people see that it is everywhere injustice, then they get organized, and we have social reactions which might lead to terrorism. And this endangers the national stability as well. Now, before I finish, please allow me to give some emphasis on the humanistic principles and virtues in the education system. The humanistic orientation of the education may help small nations. Anthropismos, humanism, educates the soul and the heart to be respectful, kind, and sharing values and goods for the common benefit, according to what Plato in Protagoras, section 324d says. In ancient China, the principle love man in Gen Humanes 1:22, and the Masters emphasizes on, I quote, I wish to be human, and behold, humanes is at hand, 7:29, were rooted on fundamental principles in which social life in microcosm and democratic justice in macrocosm were based. Confucianism is a very nice ideology, very good humanistic ideology. Given the apparent competition of nation-states and the global alliances, an increase of emphasis on humanistic principles and values and virtues in the education system is required. People need to be strengthened with spiritual and classical tools that will function as an alternative to the priority globalization gives to materialistic products. In this way, ethnos might be tolerated and can survive. Very important is this analects of Confucius. Confucius was a great philosopher in Asia, in China, in the 5th to 4th century BC, and he's great. It's good to read his analects. Any country now behaving as hegemony threatens small nations. If adopted by the European Parliament and Council, these requirements for the EU-Turkey deal on migrants, it means that Turkish citizens will be free to travel and move within the European Union's Schengen zone. For the deal to be agreed, Ankara would need to meet certain conditions, including helping to block migrants from reaching Europe. But Ibrahim Musa, a Syrian in North Greece's Idomeni camp, refugee camp, said that this decision leaves them like in prison, because they are there and they want to move to European Union. So if now Turkey gets 6 billion euros in order to block them and leave them there in camps, and they will be, some of them will be brought back also from Greece back to Turkey. They left from a war place and now they are there, they are not happy. This is the quotation, I don't need to read it. Okay, only the last. Today the Europeans, Ibrahim Musa says, paid them to close the borders, paid Turkey to close the borders. They would keep the agreement and would once again allow people to enter through smuggling. This is another danger. So Europe is not benefiting from all of this. Maybe Turkey is benefiting and we are here like in prison.
Of course.
Okay, this is some refugees in Idomeni camp in North Greece. What kind of coalitions now might be developed in future in order to establish peaceful coexistence among the nations? Coalitions like this, like the Treaty of Paris, which made this European coal and steel community. Creation of an interstate Mediterranean trust where members would be all those Mediterranean countries possessing hydrocarbons in their exclusive economic zone would be a solution. This means that not every nation state which has hydrocarbons would get them out alone and the neighbor would bomb the drilling if the neighbor state doesn't agree. This is one-one agreement, one-to-one state. If they are all together, a Mediterranean trust, or I don't know, a trust near Japan and Russia, where all the neighboring countries would take place, and it would take place an interstate trust, this would diminish the danger to have a war. And this would also give the opportunity to the member states of this trust to explode the hydrocarbons. And this is a way to have peace and to have also money and benefits. If we come to our region, to Cyprus and Greece and Israel, etc., benefits from the possible creation of such a trust, a Mediterranean trust, with the joint initiative of Cyprus and Greece, would be great, because nowadays Turkey threatens the Cyprus drillings. So if Cyprus and Greece and Turkey also, and all the Mediterranean countries would be members of this interstate trust, the problem might be lost. Israel, of course, drills alone, but Israel has a strong defense system, strong navy, strong army. This is different. Even if a nation state doesn't have strong army, then maybe the neighbor would damage these big companies that drill for hydrocarbons. Anyway, there are always ways to achieve peace and exploit the resources also. Now let me finish with this. Small nations may continue to exist if the world banking system does not allow the financially stronger to rule over poorer, if we keep the memory of identity and history of their people, if we maintain balance between nation states and the global alliances without necessarily changing the current political status quo. Small nations may continue to exist if we build a relatively symbiotic bridge, if we acquire critical thinking ability. A nation, as I said before, without critical thinking is a fragile construction. A nation's duties now, among others, is to provide a social network to its members in order not to be exposed to the globalization, third power, media broadcasting only, support them with meaning in life through festivals, cultural events, combat corruption, and help them have some direction and orientation. A good example of an ethnic group which is to be found in many countries and it is fully integrated into society without fanatic separatism, coexisting peacefully with other ethnic groups, are the Maronites. The Maronites, which is a group of people coming from Lebanon, they are spread all over the world, they keep their identity, they are not aggressive, and they are enculturated in many countries, but not assimilated. They still have their culture. Most world associations aspire to keep and protect ethnic communities and national identities as guarantors of multiculturalism. Now, if these ethnic communities and national identities disappear or assimilate, then no multiculturalism will be practiced. So it's important to have nation states. It's important to have different cultures, because if we don't speak about multiculturalism. We will speak about one culture, and one culture means no democracy. It's like having one party in one state only. Multiculturalism requires many national identities. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for this inspiring lecture and giving us, in all the directions you indicated, probably much to think and much to ask or much to comment. So now it's your turn, please.
You said something that I am not sure I understood so well, that the young people, you said?
Please turn to the
you said that the people, the citizens or the young people, I'm not sure if I remember well, cannot choose the economic regime, right? You said that? So
they have to live in the economic regime.
To live in,
yes.
Yes. But if it is a democratic country, in a certain extent, by electing the political party they want, they choose a certain system. If they vote for the socialist party, so they choose the socialism. If they, etc. and so forth. I'm sure it's not so ideal because, as you said, there is the oligarchy and the plutocracy of the banks, etc., and it's not a pure capitalism even in capitalist countries. But in a certain way, they do have a way of choosing.
In a certain, you are right that in a certain way they should have the right. But nowadays, there is no difference in the political party's agenda. This is what we mean in the social and political sciences. The difference in the politeia of Plato, yes? Plato speaks about the correct nation, the correct nation which will have the correct rules, for instance. And also in ancient Greece we had the parliament, but it was not parliament like nowadays, it was Vuli των 500, the parliament of the 500, who were only one term there, and if somebody was suspected to have been corrupt, immediately they threw him out. Nowadays what happens? They are elected for one term and then another term. And they, all over the world, nearly all over the world, and they manipulate in order to come again to the parliament. So we see that even in the pre-election phase,
like in the United States now,
everything else also, like in many countries, the parties have different agenda, but when they have, after the elections, when they have to form a coalition, the agenda, the different agenda becomes common and common and common, and then they ignore the voters because already the election campaign finished and the results are there, and they don't do something different. It was Alan Badiou in Earth. Yesterday I spoke about him.
Who?
Alan Badiou. It's the founder of philosophy in Paris, a very famous professor, and he gave an interview on Earth TV 3rd of May, and he said there is not any more difference in the political life. It's like having only one party and no citizens. So if we have like one party and no citizens, it's not a democracy. This is what is
now I understand what you meant. But we do have this in Israel because all the time we have coalition governments. And
so the way we identify the problems on an educational level is not to attack the members of the parliament or the different parties. This is not the aiming of these educational lectures. It's just to say that this and these are the problems in order to motivate a change for the good of the people and for democracy. We don't want to attack them, but we want to make them understand that this is not also profitable for the parties, because if a party doesn't have a better agenda, and the agenda is the same with the other party, and mostly we see communist parties or right-wing parties to have same agenda. So this is not a democracy, and this is not for the good of the people.
Thank you. Another, you wished to say something at the beginning, and I'm sorry I interrupted.
No. Can I ask another question?
I do.
Also, I would like you please to elaborate a bit more about what you talked about, the family, which is changing, the institution of family that you have now, civil, how did you call it? People that are not married by law or by religion.
Cohabitation.
Civil cohabitation. That happened to me, one of them also. So you said, how does it affect what you said? I'm not sure it's very clear.
I give you an example.
Yes.
For instance, in Islam, in Sharia, the family and the family law is the core of Islam.
Yes.
It's good to read the Quran. The Quran is a holy book of nearly 2 million inhabitants of this
so
planet.
Some Israelis know about the Quran.
One third of the countries have Sharia.
Yes.
1/3 of the countries who have family law have either Sharia as the whole source of their law, or influenced by this law. In Sharia, the family is the core of the society, the fundament, and the important element. So if the family is connected and well working, then nobody can attack this nation who has a strong family structure. The nation is based on family structure. You can take as an example after the barbaric and the primitive phase. Then we had the phase before the storm, yes, and then we have people got to socialize, and then we have the after storm phases in archaeology, yes? And then we had the laws, the social laws.
Yes.
When people got together in social groups, what made them to be social connected is the family first. Even the clans and different tribes were as families in the beginning. So family is very important for the survival
of the nation?
mankind.
The mankind?
Of course. I give you an example now. Why they want the refugees in Germany and in Europe? Because the number of birth is decreasing.
Yes.
So they need people.
Yes.
Why religion argues that to be homosexual or lesbian is a sin?
Because they can't have children.
This is a biological problem, it's not a religious. Of course, I said that at the Federal University of Kazan 2 years ago, and they told me in Russia, no, it's also a religious problem. Okay, religion takes the norms which will keep balance and continuation until the end of the world. So if we have relations which don't produce biological continuation, then it's a problem. So family, it's very important. Now to the to the registered cohabitation, what does this mean? This is now enforced in Cyprus, and it was
enforced. Excuse me, enforced
in Cyprus. By law, they
by
can
law?
do that. By pressure.
I see.
The law is being modified, and they can get married. Not get married. They can go to the mayor and pay €100 and say, "This is my partner, and this is my partner," and finish. So if they do that, the next day, by law, they can go and say, "No, we don't want, it's not my partner." So how they would have children, how they would, it's not people, in order to survive and to last, we speak about lasting relations which will produce continuation, biological continuation. If it's today existing and tomorrow not existing and tomorrow again existing and tomorrow not existing, we don't speak about balance. It will come to problems. It's not a religious problem. Actually, it's a social problem. Of course, I'm not against the civil. It's not a problem to be against or for that.
No, you simply give an explanation. You don't have to give your personal opinion.
It's a biological problem. We need nations need to be there. But nations have to have citizens, have to have territory and laws. This is the three which we need in international relations. So if we don't have citizens, then...
Thank you very much, Ido.
So thank you for the lecture. I like the dialectic that you hinted upon between the need of small countries to be more open in order to survive, not closer but more open. But you also said that you need to introduce humanistic discourse to make this happen. And when we look around and see how a realpolitik discourse reigns in Europe, in Israel, all around, how can we introduce this humanistic discourse?
Thank you very much, Dr. Litmanovich. This is very important to mention because what means humanistic? Confucius in ancient China said, be human, be human, be human. And then when his students asked him whom to love first, exactly like that, whom to love first, he answered, man, love man, and then love man. And then they said, the third, again, love man. Also Jesus Christ said, τον εχθρό σου ψώνιζε τον, your enemy, for your enemy you have to go to the supermarket and buy things for him. But when he was beaten, he said, did I say something bad in front of Annas, the judge? If I said something bad, tell me, otherwise why you beat me? So we have to have a balance between virtues and demanding our rights, and also values. Virtues without education cannot be there. Education without rules cannot be there. The ultimate goal of the laws and the rules is smaller in praxis laws actually, which help people to behave well and to follow the laws. If we don't have virtues, we cannot follow the laws. Look at the example of criminality today, or of cheating, or of corruption. They don't have virtues, so they do that. So in order to have a state with balance, financial balance, and also people who are lucky and happy, we need virtues and humanistic education. Humanistic education was also in Judaism. It's many, many verses where it is spoken about the neighbor, about the other person, about also in the Ten Commandments, how to be, not to tell a lie, for instance, to love your neighbor, etc., not to take an oath by mistake, not to use the name of God without a meaning. All this is humanistic education, like Socrates in ancient Greece. Socrates was killed because he said, I see the rule of my consciousness inside myself. The failure of the globalization system, because we speak about failure nowadays, is due to the lack of humanistic values. Also yesterday, during the discussion, Professor in Harvard University asked me how to enforce. And we need courses to all of us. I sat many weeks and I studied humanistic education. Mainly now I go and teach at the University of Shandong in China, because there the debate is hard. What is humanistic? Humanistic all over the world. We have to speak about virtues applied and existing everywhere. Not a nation to be virtuous and another one in the neighborhood not to be virtuous. It's like my neighbor is virtuous and me I am not. So I go and I steal his house. We need to enforce, not by education, but by education and information, same virtues all over the world. Like, for instance, why we have many refugees and immigration? Because we don't have equal pay to equal work. If we had equal pay to equal work, I said to a friend in China who has a grandchild, are you going to have a Filipino to take care of your grandchild? She said, why a Filipino? The Chinese get the same money, the same salary as a Filipino. You understand? So, immediately it is stopped. They cannot come. I'm not against them to come. But if in Cyprus or in Greece or in Israel, you have so many people from other states, if these people get a lower salary, of course they will come. If they would get the same salary as the Israelis, yes, and the Israelis the same salary as them, then these migration problems will be stopped. Of course, it's not about preventing people to come to this country. It's about values, to have same salary, because if my salary is very much smaller than Professor Horowitz, and at the end we do the same work in the same country, it's not virtue, it's not humanistic, it's something missing. It's racist in the way we are paid. Professor Horowitz, because he's Jewish and Greek origin, and in Israel is paid more. Me, because I am Cypriot, here I am paid less. So it's all about humanistic values. The equal pay, the equal work, the defeating of terrorists, the maybe the disappearance of corruption. I say maybe because in order to defeat corruption, all people have to understand that virtues and values is not only about religion. Religion speaks about that because it is required in order to have people survive. Let me finish with this joke in order to show you why it's so, it's a very short joke, why it's so important to have humanistic values. Once I would give a lecture in Salonika, in a conference of philosophy, and I asked my husband, who is professor of chemistry, to tell me an environmental joke. You do also projects here about the environment, and he told me, go into the internet, you will find thousands. I said, 1,000 jokes about environment? Then, yes, he told me, because there are no values, there are many jokes. So I went and I found one. It was 2 planets. The one planet was not happy. And the other planet asked the first planet, Why you are unhappy? What is happening? And the first planet said, you know, the Homo sapiens came and they live here, the Homo sapiens, the people. The second planet said, this is your problem. They will be destroyed. And the first planet said, by whom? And then the other planet said, because they don't have values and virtues. They are not human. They are called to be Homo sapiens, but they are not human. They will be destroyed. And the first planet said, I don't believe you, I don't believe you. And then the other planet said, but they inhabited me also 1,000 years ago, and look, I have nobody of them. So without values and virtues and humanistic approach, is no way to be happy and okay on this planet. Thank you very much.
That was a superb conclusion. And if there is no other comment, I will say thank you, Areti, very much.
My honor.
And thank you to all of you.